second.
Tomorrow.
Liver and light train in 6 seconds.
Genesis.
All right. Well, hello. I'm David Denon. Today I'm talking with Dr. Will Kitchen, who's recently published a very interesting book titled Film, Negation and Freedom, which you can see here. Picture of Malcolm McDowell on the cover. I like that picture. And Will has previously published a book on a related topic called Romanticism and Film, which you can see here. The books have kind of different emphases, but they're similar in that they both focus on Romanticism and on romantic elements in 20th century film. And his new book discusses Romanticism in the films of Lindsay Anderson and Arthur Penn, and we'll hopefully talk a lot about Anderson's and Penn's films today. So welcome, Will.
Yes, it's lovely to be back. It's always great to have a conversation. We have a shared interest in Morse Peckham and Romanticism, so it's always great to have these conversations and share latest research. Yeah, it's lovely to be here.
Maybe we can perhaps start by breaking down some of those big words in your title: Negation, Freedom, and Romantic Critique.
Well, it all comes from a background in studying Romanticism. That's the main connecting thing that's led to these different areas, and the discovery of connections between two of the most interesting interpretations of Romanticism that I've come across at the moment, Jacques Rancière and Morse Peckham. And these approaches allow us to understand Romanticism as a modern phenomenon, basically. So Jacques Rancière, French philosopher of politics and aesthetics, and Morse Peckham, American cultural theorist, very neglected writer who contributed much to debates about Romanticism and behavior and language, as you know very well. So film theory has a long history of dualistic connections between key themes. So realism and expression, for example, the flickering image between light and dark, and Rancière's theory quite neatly maps onto this duality of Romanticism, involving concepts like romanticism and language and control and freedom. So the book is an attempt to explore the various connecting threads between these different issues, the correspondence between freedom and negation on one side, and also positivity, totality, control, starting from a rhetorical division between film and cinema.
Yeah, Rancière, Peckham are kind of your two big, well, I wouldn't say you're too big, but two of your biggest influences, theoretical influences, I think, in the book, although you mentioned many others, Adorno. But then there's also like the actual artworks or the films that you talk about, the films of Arthur Penn and Lindsay Anderson. And why did you in particular focus on them? Like why, in what sense would you say, are they romantics? What drew you to them originally?
So if we've set up this idea that film is a romantic medium in itself, is it possible to look at certain topics such as narrative and character, and can there be a test case to explore whether certain filmmakers can be considered more romantic than others in a sort of interesting sense that moves beyond the sort of reductive idea of romanticism as being involved in matters of content over form? So things like an interest in death and nature and individualism, that kind of thing.
It isn't easy.
Can they explore things at a more fundamental level? That shared interest in failure as a theme, failed revolutions and failed attempts to make it good in the world of capitalism.
And if you found the reason to live on and not to die, you are a lucky man. The preachers and the poets and the scholars.
These little groups that try to establish an alternative value system. Films like Britannia Hospital and The Misery Briggs, excellent films in their own right and very interesting pieces of work, and deserve to have more attention paid to them. So enough has been written about If and Bonnie and Clyde for the present. I wanted to explore, give some room to some of these more neglected texts as well.
Light and dark romanticism, you make this distinction between light and dark romanticism, which you mentioned. I was wondering if we could maybe explore that a little bit and maybe relate that to maybe some aspects of Penn's and Anderson's films.
So a distinction between light and dark romanticism is something that has been attempted in previous interpretations, specifically Peckham's early concept of positive and negative romanticism worked out in the 1950s. So basically, you've got a distinction between two images of romanticism. Imagine, for example, the light romanticism of the inactive romantic daydreamer, a daydreaming poet lost in a reverie, or someone sitting immobile in a cinema audience, or listening enraptured to music.
Smile. Why? Just do it. I'm afraid I can't smile without a reason.
And on the other side, you've got the more positive, dark romantic image of someone energized and proactive, someone who feels enervated by listening to Wagner, or leaving the cinema with that sense of heroism, ready to go out in the world and make their mark or do something.
Let's make movies. Hey, come back! Movies!
And you also mentioned earlier on that it actually reverses, as you're quite right to say, the typical distinction between Apollo and Dionysus from Nietzsche as well. So for critical romanticism, Apollo is dark for desiring order, unity, clear meaning and expression, whereas Dionysus is light for desiring indistinction, uncertainty, and the erasure of clear boundaries.
Smile. What's there to smile about?
Cinema has been synonymous with the idea of the moving image and images of action, but it can also be a very inactive medium as well. There's a whole spectrum of movement and passivity in audiovisual media, and some of the most powerful moments in individual stories filled with action and excitement and movement have been moments of great stillness throughout cinema history. So passivity, indecision. Imposing those moments of inaction within stories that seem to demand more action than they're getting from their characters. The idea of, romanticism being a schema that enables success to become failure and failure success. It's a very Darwinian thing, the idea that failures breed successes. But that it's quite traumatic for romanticism as a whole, because it becomes such a divided concept. You find people who adopt these romantic principles as a way of opposing society's values, but find them continually readopted into the system and repurposed to serve other intentions as well.
Why? What you said, I'm not ready for the jump. My boy, there is no jump. Not for people like you. Your talent is a bridge. You walk across.
All the films, in some way or other, can be read to transform failure into success or success into failure. Their interest as critical works of art depends on this power to subvert the most fundamental categories of social value, even at the cost of undermining their own coherence.
You'll have everything you ever prayed for. Money, clothes, success. Al Jolson had 150 overcoats in his closets when he died.
That modern neoliberal management discourse developed from the counterculture of the 1960s. Capitalism thrives on romantic ideas these days.
Yes will come alive even while destroying itself. Its greatest freedom will come out of its greatest threat. For yes, courage is freedom.
What's there to smile about?
The Mick Travis character is auditioning for Lindsay Anderson. Lindsay Anderson tells him to smile. He's like, why? What is there to smile about? I need a reason to smile. And eventually Lindsay Anderson
the great paradox of romantic art is that it reveals how moments of supposedly emancipating truth and freedom we get from artistic experiences of beauty are always dependent upon the violent expression of the individual artist. They're imposing their will on reality as a moment of violence, which then, if we're lucky, leads to moments of truth. So truth and freedom cannot exist without violence and coercion.
Millions continue to suffer and go hungry, condemned forever to lives of ignorance and deprivation. Only a new human being of pure brain can lead man forward into the new era.
How like an angel in apprehension, how like a god.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Will. Thanks for taking the time to chat about your recent book, and hope to have you back in the future to talk about your next projects. So,
absolutely, it's lovely to be here, and always good to have a chat. Hope to see you again for the next one in the future.